Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. On-chain revolution. Guns. Boom.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire Bitcoin crypto ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live for the On-Chain Hour, and today's show is going to be better than my blurry stuff. What is up, guys? So right now, we got Bitcoin sitting at 92,066. ETH sitting at $3,327. You do have TAO down 296, but across the board, I'm seeing a lot of red. I'm seeing a ton of red right now. And this, believe it or not, is actually a good thing, because today we do not want to run up. We do not want to run up. And I will repeat, we do not want to run up going into the FOMC meeting. 2 o'clock, we're going to see them come out. There's a 95% chance that we're getting a 0.25 cut. It's almost guaranteed at this point. Powell does not shock markets. And then at 2:30, I believe Powell's going to come out. And the only thing that he can say, in my opinion, that's going to actually pump the markets is basically quantitative easing. He comes out and says potentially, hey, we're looking into potentially whether or not quantitative easing is something we can do in January. If he says anything like that, markets are going to absolutely rip. I mean, that could really be what sets off the Santa Claus rally that we haven't gotten yet. That could be exactly what we need for markets to pump. And who knows? Jerome Powell might be a nice guy. He might be saying, you know what? Let's give these guys a nice Christmas. Let me pump markets. Or he can come out and he could say, very boring. We're looking at data to drive January. We do think the job market's coming back. Inflation is coming down, but we need to get to 2.1%. Our goal is 2%. And all this dumb shit that he says every single meeting. That's what's probably going to happen. But there's a small chance that he talks about quantitative easing, which would shock everybody. So really exciting for that. What am I expecting going into that, though? I am expecting chop. Exactly what we've been experiencing over the last 2 weeks. Chop has been, especially over the last 2 years, has just been terrible. I'd rather see a dump down to 82,000 than chop for the rest of the month. That would be horrific. Chop. No one likes chop. Bulls don't like chop. The bears don't like chop. No one likes it. No one likes when they go up, they liquidate the longs. They go down and liquidate the shorts. No one likes it. It's just not impossible to make money, right? You just can't. You can't decide on the direction of the market. It sucks. So we need to see somewhat of a position taking opportunity for some of these traders. So that's what I'm excited for. We do have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about today in the news. SpaceX transferred 1,000 Bitcoin to Coinbase. Are they about to sell? That's really interesting. Base flipped Arbitrum in bridged inflows. Is that bad for Hyperliquid, or is that just Base kind of gaining some potential here? SEC Chairman Paul Atkins said that many types of ICOs should not be considered securities. And we have a bunch of ICOs that are preparing right now. Rainbow is actually preparing their ICO. We had an ICO yesterday that did a 5x to everyone who participated. So we're going to be talking about that as well. And Larry Fink says the U.S. is moving too slowly on crypto adoption. A lot more than that, guys. We're going to get into everything right now. But first, let me bring in my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? How you feeling today?
Feeling good. Feeling good. I expected the pullback that we had yesterday in the second half of the day. I would say closer towards, that. Well, actually, it kind of started in the afternoon, right? But we did get up to that, 90, almost 95,000, right? So 94.7, and then started to retrace. But it was expected, right? It's you have that bullishness to start the day. We did know that we had about a day from that time until the FOMC meeting and said, hey, look, most likely it's going to swing back. And that's what happened. It almost played out exactly the way we said, getting back to that 92, 93, 92,000. And that's where we are right now. So price right now for Bitcoin, irrelevant, right? Let's kind of, I guess, try to take some guesses at like what's going to happen during the meeting is the only thing you can really do, but not play off of that though, right? Because it's going to be really volatile. One thing I will say is that most people don't like chop. I think there is a certain subset of people that do, and those are the really good scalpers, but that's about it. Like, the volatility swings are more of like, the average trader, I think, looks for those, the ones that are more intense to the upside and intense to the downside. But the chop is really you got to be really, really good at, discipline for one, and scalping, and that's not an easy skill set to build up. So you're right, there's not many people that love this type of trading environment. And we were close to 80, we actually passed 82 not too long ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, but it didn't last very long, right? So I'm with you in terms of, hey, let's send the sucker to the moon, or let's kind of pull back, get even more opportunity on some of the stuff we have conviction on.
Yeah, for sure. But even the scalpers, they want to go one direction or the other, right? So they probably make a little bit of money on the day-to-day trading, right? But they make most of their money off big moves, right? So I don't think anyone is just scalping alone. I think they, a lot of them who day trade, they want to see a big move so they can trade it, right? So I think that's why you can kind of see a lot of the traders and stuff. And I've heard traders say this, especially in the TradFi world, that chop is the worst thing to happen to them because they can't like fully leave their desk. They're sitting there the whole time because it could happen any second. They like to make their move, based on past data, and then kind of get up a little bit and then come back to their desk right as market closes or something like that, right? So I think this is just a terrible market. And if we have 3 weeks of chop, and I was watching a blockchain backer yesterday. He's somebody who trades these markets, right? He said that he potentially sees, if we don't have a big move today, he potentially could see 3 to 4 weeks of chop between 82 and 94. How terrible would that be? We're the third week of January and we've only chopped between $5,000.
Yeah, it really does depend on your skill level, right? Like I said, there's not many people that can consistently do it. But I mean, if you look at last Friday, we got to like 88, and then if they swung that to this morning, really you're looking at not this morning, yesterday morning, you're looking at an 88 to $94,000 swing. Now the problem is no one is like Nostradamus, right? They can't tell if that's gonna exactly how that's gonna play out, right? And so the opportunities are there for that group of people, but for the most part, you're right, and that would be boring for majority of the market, and that's what matters. It's like the masses, right? Because those are the people that are going to really give the energy or take the energy away from the market, not these kind of quants that are really, really good and disciplined. That's a really small group of people, and they're not loud people, by the way, either. And so the people that, in my opinion, that matter to really kind of cheerlead for the space, or kind of do the opposite of that, be in the dumps about it, those are the ones that really don't want what the blockchain backer said could be a possibility of what is in the near term, right? That's if we don't get something from today's meeting, which I think we're all hoping for. And I don't know, maybe, usually when we all hope for something, we don't get it in this industry, but it is December and maybe the powers that be want to feel a little gracious to us for once this year.
Best case scenario. Let's get into today's first topic. Bitcoin fate is in JPOW's hands. Altcoins quietly warming up. Year-end rally loading. So that's all comes on the back of FOMC. Interest rate decision will happen today at 2 p.m. Eastern time. 25 basis point cut is expected with 90% odds. 95 now. Fed Powell's conference is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And any mention of QE will be bullish for markets. This is kind of what everyone is saying right now. What do you think? Do you think potentially we could get quantitative easing in January? What if he says January 1st we start easing? Is there any chance of that?
I think there's a small chance, a slight chance, because I say that because we have this expectation of Powell and how he answers questions.
Mhm.
He likes to be really keep you guessing with some of the stuff, and then so he'll surprise you with some of the answers, just kind of throwing like a hawkish stance out with one of his answers, right? I wonder what the question setups today's are going to be, though, because if it's him wanting to kind of dictate where it goes, and I don't think he would want a question about, hey, are you going to be aggressive with purchasing assets in January, right? Are you guys going to be aggressive with QE? I don't necessarily think he wants that, unless he wants the market to be bearish still. And if he does, then he'll answer it kind of similarly, I guess, to like the rate cut question in December. But that question was kind of like, is it guaranteed, right? So that's where I feel like you can almost tell if it was planted or not, because the question was so horrible, like you mentioned before.
Mhm.
It's like, was he supposed to say to that? No,
Mhm.
nothing in life is guaranteed, right? So
Yeah.
if you're asking him if a rate cut's gonna be guaranteed, he's going to tell you nothing. It's not guaranteed,
Yep.
And so I hope the questions don't come out that way, but we don't know who's all planting these type of questions as well, right?
Well, we do know it's Jerome Powell's team.
Well,
Right? It's
him
the Fed.
also
They allow the people in the room.
institutions too,
So
maybe, right?
yeah.
Because institutions
Well,
have
no, these people
skin.
are handpicked. The people in that room are handpicked by the, it's
I
the
know, but
media.
their own
Yeah.
they work for media
Yeah.
companies that have ownership with
Yeah.
the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and all these others, right? And so keep the price low maybe for accumulation. Who knows? At the end of the day, you can't do anything about that. I talk about that kind of stuff just to kind of have fun because I love conspiracy. And but what focus on what you can control. That's getting knowledge, information, and I guess like when you're watching the FOMC meeting, you can kind of take the history of those because the previous meetings, right, and kind of see how the previous meetings have played out based on his tones and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% like, just because there's 30 people in there, Jerome, they know the questions before they're asked, right? So they go to the people that they like their question. So if 3 people had the same question written down, it might, people might change up the question response so that he gets picked, right? Because if you work for the Washington Post, you want your boss to know that you got picked in the meeting through your question. So you're gonna make it, the way you want, and they pick the question, so which is annoying. But last month on, I think it was, what was it, November, October, whenever the last meeting was, the quantitative tightening stuff was posted in the paperwork with the rate cut. So we got the rate cut, and then in that paperwork, it said December 1st will be the end of quantitative tightening, right? So are you expecting maybe something in that paperwork at 2 p.m. that could erupt markets even going into Powell's speech, or no?
No, I'm not going to expect it because I don't want to be let down, right?
Yeah.
So if it does, if it is put in there, then I think that would just be like a really good surprise, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I'm going to look at it. Now, everybody's going to look at it differently and maybe expect, hoping that you see QE in there and the start date and these type of things. But I just don't think that's like logical to expect that. And
He doesn't
so
like to shock markets, though. That's one thing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see like a February 1st, potentially, or something like February 1st start QE or something like that. But it's probably not going to happen. It's probably just me hoping for the best here. I hope for the best. But yeah, that happens today. I think, we're going to get a lot of questions answered, and should be good for markets, unless it's not. We'll see. Moving along, though, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says the U.S. is moving too slowly on crypto adoption and needs to speed up. Larry Fink is annoyed. Close people are saying about this crypto paperwork that really hasn't been done yet, that David Sachs and all these, crypto guys have been working on. And we keep getting the same thing. Keep getting, hey, there's going to be a meeting posted with senators. There's going to be a meeting for this. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink wants it now. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink usually gets what he wants. What do you think? Do you think this speeds it up a little bit?
I think he could speed it up without putting a headline in there, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree with the statement. I just don't know if this is, what part of the strategy this is, if this was an intentional quote that, he wanted in the headlines or whatever. But I do agree that it is slow. We talked about a couple aspects of traditional finance, not from the stock market sense, but like the way that the financial system works now, that our space needs to really catch up to, whether that's ACH type payments or, these type of things to make things automated as well. If you're going to use digital assets in that way. Now, we know stable coins is wanting to be used in that way. But outside of stable coins, do you need to do anything with any other coins? I don't necessarily think so. So there's probably a lot of stablecoin infrastructure that's going to be released, but we get to see kind of where it is now because we work in Web3, right? And if you work in Web3, you kind of know how payments go back and forth and this and that and the other. And I just feel like, the adoption in that aspect definitely needs to speed up with the infrastructure side. Now, to the society as well, probably he's feeling like society, the masses aren't being onboarded quickly enough as well.
Well, we already got our stablecoin bill passed, right? So this is more about clarity of what a security is, what isn't a security. You know what I mean? Like what defines this token rather than this token? What makes the Wilfi token the same as Bitcoin? You know what I mean? Like I think that's kind of what he's talking about. Am I wrong? Has the Stablecoin Act already passed? Right?
Yeah,
that's already in the law.
But when I think about adoption, obviously clarity for builders and companies and stuff like that. But I'm thinking about adoption of like logical real world usage too, right? And so I'm thinking about society integrating with society, right? And you and I both talked about some the aspects of where it's lacking or it's behind, whether that's privacy of employers paying employees or automated payments, which you can do these things. They're just not like widely popular and widely known, right? Like there's streaming payments that you can set up through Solana and these things, but they're just not heavily used, right? And so in that aspect, that's where I think that the space is behind. But again, this is the first year that I feel like there's been like this green light that's big and says, okay, let's do this thing. And so maybe it's just the expectation is too big from our side because, this is a huge lift, right? To like integrate into society. So.
Yeah, I mean, 100% could be it for sure. When I first saw this, though, I just thought he meant like in the sense of the U.S. government. But I mean, you're kind of saying you mean like companies actually implementing, these strategies. Okay, that definitely could be.
And they can work hand in hand, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like the companies that are really good at that type of stuff, building infrastructure for ACH payments and all these things, that was set up a long time ago, right? For how we do things now. But like the companies that have the skill set to do that for our industry, they're probably waiting for that clarity as well. They're like, if they're going to be a big financial company in Web3, they want to make sure that everything is clean before they go in and start building these enterprise products.
Yeah, definitely makes sense for sure. Shout out to my guy Ryan, Blazing Band. He said, "What's up, guys? Rally incoming. Yes. Let's go." He says, "Yeah, he likes to be hawkish. I can't stand it. I can't stand too late, Powell." Myself says, "Too late, Powell." Yep, always late. The economy is strong and resilient. He says. I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, we're far from the R word, I think, which is recession. Blazing Bandit says, GM everyone, we got Hopium. He said, I heard that we could get clarity on the 17th. That's 7 days away. I'd be shocked about that. Would you be shocked if we get the Clarity Act on the 17th?
Not really, because they wanted to get it in before the end of the year. So
That's
I
true.
wouldn't be shocked, right? And Brian
Yeah.
Armstrong has been on the Hill a ton, right?
Yeah.
So he's
He
been
basically
down
lives
there.
there,
He's been
yeah.
putting in the work. So I actually wouldn't be shocked if we did squeeze it in before the end of the year. So I'm not sure if it's likely, but I wouldn't be too shocked. And for everybody that's watching from the Pump streams, Zora and Abstract streams, make sure you drop your comments and questions in the chat. I am managing those, but love the comments. You guys are awesome. Johnny Utah says, good morning. Good morning. Of course, our guy, Ryan Boylan, supporting us, says, subscribe and share, and let's all learn together. Absolutely. Hit that subscribe button, guys.
100%. Let's get it. All right, next thing here, SEC Chairman Paul Atkins said that many types of ICOs could be considered securities, should not be considered securities, and thus fall outside the SEC's jurisdiction. He's saying he kind of wants to be hands off on some of this stuff. He's like, you tell me what's a security and not a security. I'll give you my handbook that let you know. You tell me if these tokens are or not, and then we can decide which ones we are going to be looking at and which ones the CFTC is going to be looking at, right? Commodity or security. So right now, I do like this, but it looks like Chairman Paul Atkins kind of wants that Clarity Act as well.
Yeah, I think it would make his life easier, because then he can kind of feel like he can move forward with what his focus should be on regarding our space, right? I think the SEC's had a lot of spotlight from our space, but obviously not in the best lighting, right? But this is kind of the opposite of what the previous chair would do. I could never see him saying this, so this is more like, hey, let's get this thing going. So there's not like, because they're kind of waiting now, they're in limbo a little bit here. It's like, we just want to be able to do our job the right way, and there's some new changes to how we're approaching this industry and sector, and just let's kind of solidify that. Let's get this framework done.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the same thing, right? Like, he can go and say, hey, this passed the Howey test, blah, blah, blah. But if then a few days later they pass the Clarity Act, it's like, well, now I have new laws to kind of put a structure in, right? And that's kind of what we need. We need to figure out whether the Howey test, which was created in 1922, is still viable today, right? To say which is security and non-security, and that's something that they want to put in the Clarity Act as well. So we'll see. But you're right, though. I think Brian Armstrong. They have a headquarters in San Francisco, the original one, and they had headquarters in New York. I think he should put one right in the smack dab of Washington, D.C., so he can always be there. I think Brian Armstrong is somebody we need at least sitting in on every decision, right? When it comes to at least giving his opinion. Maybe they don't want to take his opinion in whatever, but I think at least hearing him out, he's been somebody who's, like I said, like we were talking pre-show, they up until 2017, they had barely any altcoins on their exchange, right? They were just dishing out commodities, which was Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then they added Litecoin and stuff like that later. But they really didn't add anything that was on the borderline of being a security or commodity until, I say 2018, 2019. So I think he's somebody who's definitely understands that, and I think he should be somebody at least being there to give his opinion before they make a ruling.
Yeah. I mean, if they want to build a third office there, then sure. But he has enough money to where he can just park it and do some Zoom meetings, to San Francisco and New York.
Yeah, but these senators, they don't do Zoom meetings, right?
No.
Zoom
meetings with his teams back there. I'm sure he has like a nice condo in DC already. He's been there for so many times. So, but I do agree that his influence has really expedited different parts of where we are, right? Whether that's the Stablecoin Act or whatnot, but they're working together. It's not just him. The Gemini twins obviously get involved as well, and then you have Kraken. You have the CEO from Kraken that attends all those events and stuff. But he's probably the most hands-on out of everybody. And look, if he can deliver this act to be completed before the year, that'd be a big win for him and the space.
100%. 100%. All right, move along here. This one kind of hit me in the stomach a little bit. So November exchange data report spot trading volume of all major exchanges in November fell 28% from October. I got some chart here. So this is it right here. Binance down 25% from month over month. KuCoin 16%, MEXC 34%, which is crazy. 44% for Gate. As you can see, the ones who trade the tinier coins saw the most change. BitGet 62% from month to month. So in a matter of 30 days, the volume for these exchanges have dropped some 60%, some 47%, but on average about 28%. How are you taking this? This is bear market shit right here.
It is, but I'm very curious if we can compare the volumes of leverage trading, right? Because I actually think that a lot of people are leverage trading, you know, and not spot trading, which, you know, it's not necessarily a good thing. It's just, if I feel like people, you know, they feel like they can, if they manage it correctly, they can gain more, right? Because they're using that leverage mindset. But you know, and then you pointing out the MEXCs and the gates that literally will list almost anything. Seeing that larger percentage pullback, that makes sense, because even though leverage is risk on, it's weird. It's like what you said about TradFi. Some of the average people are utilizing margin on TradFi this year because they don't have enough capital to feel like they're taking significant size in their place, because they're trading S&P, they're trading in NVIDIA, they're trading all these, and they want to have some substantial gains for them, right? The rich people, they can do spot all day, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like similar situations happening here, right? So although regular people that are taking margin over there, they're not going super high on risk on with those, you know, brand new tech stocks over there. Same thing I feel like is happening here. They're taking leverage on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, BNB, and they're just not participating in spot right now because they feel like that's not where their best opportunity is.
Yeah, I agree. And so I guess my next question for you is, we're only 10 days in December, but if I was going to get you're kind of forward looking a little bit. Do you see it getting worse in December, it getting better in December, or kind of staying the same month over month?
It depends on today. I think today really matters with that. It depends on if there's a great surprise that comes into the paperwork today, to where they do put a date in where official QE starts. I think that would change a lot of things. And also the outlook on January, February, right? You know, as most people are accepting the fact that we're not going to get rate cuts in January, but we're getting one this month, right? So I think all that matters. And if we do get like some of these potential catalysts to fall into our favor, then yeah, I think that changes, that gets better for the spot side of things, right? And then yeah, probably leverage. I feel like leverage it will still remain pretty aggressive though, because people are still wanting that extra ammo. You know, unfortunately, that's just kind of how, you know, that's the mindset right now.
Yeah, I agree. Blazing Bandit says, yes, President Trump calling for it before end of the year. Yeah, I hope we get it. He said, yes, I agree. He says, Brian Armstrong's a smart man. I agree. I am and will always be a Coinbase app supporter. Yeah, I don't like Coinbase because I don't like getting robbed. I mean, I don't like paying those giant fees to Coinbase. I used Coinbase probably, I don't know, 6 times in the last couple of years.
But that's going to change.
Will it?
Well, I mean, according to you,
I love MEXC. I mean, I love MEXC. Why would I? Unless I get kicked out.
No. I'm saying that the giant fees are going to change.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they have to. We have something news today about Gate US, so it's already kind of starting. We'll get into that in a little bit. Myself says, I think we're in a recession, but it's not official until Niebuhr says it. which they never ever ever tell you when you're actually in one. Yeah, I remember not realizing we were in a bear. Like, I think the bear market started in December of 2021, and we really didn't notice until like Luna went down, right? In like May, because we were still trying to actually earn money.
Oh
But then we
yeah,
realized the liquidity just wasn't there.
yeah. But the recession situation, you're right, myself. I mean, like every administration can figure a way to finagle that, right? And the last administration basically made up new rules and said,
Yeah.
the consecutive negative GDP thing goes out the window. And so this current administration is going to do the same thing, right? They're just not going to vomit that to the public because they don't want to ruin their chances even more for 2026. And so I agree with you on that statement for sure.
100%. So there is something in January that we have to really pay attention to. That's January 16th. That's when MSCI or Minka, whatever it's called here in the US, they are going to come out and say whether something like strategy, which they are calling a digital treasury asset strategy, says, hey, no, we're still a company, whether or not they can stay in these indexes, right? Because at the end of the day, they're basically calling them treasury companies. Well, MicroStrategy is fighting this. He urges MSCI to withdraw its proposal to exclude digital asset treasuries, including strategy, from its global investable market indexes. Strategy actually submitted feedback opposing the proposal to exclude digital asset treasury companies. Strategy said DATs are operating companies. At the end of the day, they are, right? Just because what you hold on your balance sheet doesn't affect your day-to-day business, right? So what do you think? Do you think this should be something the market's really worried about on the 16th with MicroStrategy?
Yeah, I do. But he has a point. Obviously, the risk is a lot larger for a DAT company versus a fund manager, because fund managers have thousands of different assets that they have, right, that they're holding for and they're also holding them for their clients. So it's a different, I guess, approach with that. But yeah, of course, because if they do get excluded, then there's going to be a forced sell down for a lot of these people that are participating in indices or these index funds that have DATs rolled into them. And depending on how hard the pressure is, the idea is the forced sell down of the DATs digital asset that it's backing, right? So whether that's Bitcoin and MicroStrategy or Ethereum and Bitmine, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, 100%. What is Bitmine considered? Are they an actual? I know MicroStrategy. They have
treasury company still.
Tech company. They're a treasury company.
Yeah, they're way more of just.
I don't think they're affected as much. They're not affected at all. I don't think.
Well, I don't know.
Indices.
Yeah, they're not there yet. They're not at that level. But MicroStrategy is obviously the big one, right? So.
Well, his argument here is, hey, we're still a tech company. Don't look at our balance sheet. You know what I mean? You can how are you going to call us a treasury company or a treasury stock when we have a business underneath this? And I think that's his argument.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
kind of like
they bring in billions of dollars a year in profit.
It's also like a drug kingpin that has a laundry shop that's fronting for cleaning a lot of money.
He's helping the community, right? So I don't know.
But except for it's not illegal though. So that's the difference. He's not cleaning money, obviously, but that's illegal. And what he's doing is not illegal. So that's a big difference. So whether they like it or not, what he's doing is legal. And they do have a tech company, that has clients at large as JCPenney's or these other retail clients that they build OSs for. So
is that now with AI building, these OSs, Caffeine AI, and so many others building websites and operating systems, is something like MicroStrategy, do they have to pivot their business?
Well, the developers that work for them.
Yeah.
Because you'll always need the consulting side of that. And then you need a human for that. Right. So if I hire you
can't have AI to consult for you.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Just give me data analysts instead of opinions.
Well, if I hire you to, to develop this operating system that's custom and tailored to my business,
Mhm.
then sure, you as a company can build that software with mostly AI building it.
Mhm.
But what needs to happen too is you need to know all the ins and outs of what my request is, right?
Wouldn't the
So
AI do that though? Why wouldn't the AI
no,
be able to
because
know all the ins and outs?
but like how would that work though? Like, you still need some sort of human point contact. You get what I'm saying? So I'll tell you why. Because let's say that like I hired you to build an operating system for my business. What would you do if you're just only purely doing AI? What's my next step?
I would ask the AI.
Excuse me?
I would ask the AI.
You would ask the AI
Yes, I would just say I'll put all the information in the AI and say, "Hey, let's, I want to create the greatest operating system ever. This is I would put all my information in there, and it would potentially give me
you're
everything I
saying
need."
so you're acting like the client basically. You're acting like the client, and you're saying, okay, I don't need a third
What do I
party
need them?
I don't need a third party anymore. I'm gonna go to an AI. Go to the website. Let's say I work for like Ford Motor Company. Okay. I now go to the website and this is an AI OS creating company. And I'm just going to trust them with everything and say, this is what I need, build it for me. And this is going to be a system that all of my employees are going to use, by the way. There can't be any mess ups with it. It has to be very custom tailored to what I need with my inventory that gets shipped out to the dealerships and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I don't think we're at that point, not even close, because you're trusting a website now to basically be your consultant. And I don't want to have to prompt it correctly. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to do that if I'm paying this website to build something for me. I want to
You're not
talk to
paying
a
anybody
human.
with the AI. I think you're underestimating where we're at right now with AI. I
No,
think that's the
I'm not.
problem.
I think we're very far with the innovation of AI. I think we're extremely far. I actually think that people that say that we're in the AI bubble from a text
Mhm.
or a stock standpoint is overstating that. Sure, some of these stocks have gone up pretty high, but with the innovation that we're at, I think we're pretty close to on point. Anyways, I know we kind of went off on a
Yeah,
tangent there, but I think that that consulting side of software development will still be around from at least the consulting side, maybe for like another 5 to 10 years. And then
I
I
disagree.
think, well, I
I
mean,
think if
you
you
can
have a lead
disagree all you
engineer,
want, but
no, I'm just saying,
that's, I mean,
if you have a lead engineer who knows how to code everything, who can look at everything the right way, make sure everything's good, and you have an AI giving you, this is what Amazon did, this is what Target did, this is what this company did, and you're just taking that information and you're building your own philosophy on it. I think, two engineers and AI could develop that entire thing in-house, and completely in-house. But
yeah, but
consulting is the one thing that I think is going away completely in the next 2 years.
But do you know how much human skill set is in consulting though? That's actually one of the professions that has like you have to have like a unique. There's almost like a sales aspect to it. Do you think AI could do like sales completely?
Yes.
I think that's absolutely
I
nuts to
think
say that.
I would
I think
love
that's
if I had to go to a
absolutely
car
nuts.
dealership and buy a car, I'd rather
That's
do it with AI.
that's not even nearly that's like the easy part is that's the easiest part of sales is whenever a customer comes to you and says, "Here's cash, I want this."
Well, no, I'm
The
trying
hard
to
part
buy a
of
car.
sales,
I'm coming.
uh, yeah, the hardest part of sales is actually convincing somebody using like your human unique skill ability of sales to convince them that this product is worth the money of exchange. And I think that AI doesn't have that.
So you're saying the people using dynamics of tricking people to buy something that they don't want is a good thing? That's terrible.
I'm
We need to get
saying
rid of
that
that from society.
I'm saying that the best salespeople in the world have that, and AI doesn't
That's
have it.
engineering. That's manipulation. That's terrible.
Yeah, but if you're in sales and you've made like six-figure salaries and stuff like that, that's what got you there, is what I'm saying. And
Yeah,
it's not
it's
all of them
social
don't manipulate.
engineering and manipulation.
Not everybody manipulates. Not everybody manipulates on that, but yeah, some people do. But I
Yes,
mean,
most of them do. If I go in there and I want a
dude,
$20,000 car and I walk out of there with $40,000 card, I was social engineered. I was manipulated into buying something that I didn't really want.
okay,
You gotta get
but
rid of that from
that's
society.
called, but sure, but that's what capitalism is about too, though. That, you know, the fact that like Ford is competing against like GM to get more sales, right? So like you will never get rid of
Well,
sales
just
teams ever.
put out a better product.
You'll
And I
never get
think
rid of sales teams, though. I mean, that's a
I
part
think
of
you're
like
right.
trying to drive up revenue.
Well, I think there's going to be a point where I'm going to be able to go to
I think we
go to
got to move on
computer
to
and
the
just
next
do everything
topic because
on
like
there.
our
All right.
audience is
So
probably
shout
like,
out
"You're not here
to
for
Blaze
that."
Event. I like this topic. I honestly do. I like talking about this. But Blaze Event said there. This here is to start our pump. Left my A off. Appreciate you guys always. Get in the next cup of coffee.
Shout out.
Thanks, Ryan. Dude. Too much, bro. I really appreciate it, man. Too much. You're killing it for us, man. Thank you so much. I thank you as you help get me a little smarter every day. Appreciate you, my friend. But he says, get your next cup of coffee. Sorry, what's up? Webster says AI wins long term. I agree, man. I think it's just going to get better. Yes,
I
sales
agree
can
with
be
that as well.
manipulation. Welcome to the way the world works. Yeah, but you don't need to do it anymore. I want to go to if I want to buy a car in the future, I'm never walking into a dealership again. I'm going to buy that shit online.
I mean, that's what
with
the
an
whole point
AI
of
to kind of walk
Carvana.
me through it.
Carvana did that.
Yeah.
You know, so they started that process. Everybody hates buying cars because they try to sell you all these up things and yeah, I get it.
You're completely social engineered. All salesman is a social engineering scam.
Well, I mean, but it also every company that has a product will always have some sort of sales team.
I disagree. Well, I mean, we'll find out in the future, but I think that's going to get eliminated. I think that's one of the jobs is going to get eliminated for sure. But we'll see. Well, I could be completely wrong. But you're right though. Let's move along here. So base flipped ARB in bridged inflows. So when I say this to you, by hearing this, what are you concerned about when you're hearing this right here? Is anything concern you? Because there's one company who's doing insane amount of fees using Arbitrum that I'm actually worried about.
I mean, I can't think off the top of my head.
Yeah, no worries. So
what Hyperliquid?
Hyperliquid, exactly. And you notice here, base flipping Arbitrum for the first time. 99% of the inflows happen on Hyperliquid come through Arbitrum, right? So the fact that the top bridges now is of 4.49 million, and you're seeing base actually about 50% more. Does that concern you? Because Hyperliquid now back in the $20 range. This was the only token, or one of the only top 20 tokens that didn't have a pump yesterday when everything else did.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about Hyperliquid. I'm not worried about them. And I think Arbitrum needs to be probably trying to figure out how they can get more dApps like Hyperliquid, right? But I'm not worried about Hyperliquid. Their price has been kind of like it's funky, right? Like whenever things weren't pumping super hard, it was like constantly like trucking upwards in the beginning of the year because they did this amazing dynamic of using their fees for buybacks after an airdrop. And so sometimes whenever everything pumps, like Hyperliquid might not, it's kind of chills a little bit. And then all of a sudden it like will go on a run, right? Because maybe the team's buying more back at the time. But I'm not worried about Hyperliquid. I'd be more worried, I guess, if I was Arbitrum and, trying to figure out, which is wild because if you look at that list, other than Hyperliquid, who is using Arbitrum that heavy, right? Not many people. Yeah. So Hyperliquid is the reason why Arbitrum's top of the list anyways. So they need to probably figure out like, hey, look, Hyperliquid's going to bridge in from other ways as well. I think they also use BSC maybe or another way to do it. I always use Arbitrum when I use them because Arbitrum's pretty quick. It's not as quick as base, but it's like barely a little bit slower. So so Arbitrum probably needs to figure things out. Now, will they get the numbers? Because isn't Robinhood using them as a framework?
Same way base is using Optimism, yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure that they'll benefit from that once that's up and running, pretty strong.
Yeah, I saw this as clear indication that people are using other perp dexes. I saw this as
lighter,
There's one on Solana that's doing very well. There's one on Base that's doing pretty good as well. And I think that potentially, Hyperliquid was something that was absolutely insane and amazing. It might be getting diluted now with so many other perp dexes and places and exchanges, right? Maybe making a comeback as well. This is concerning to me for Arbitrum. I mean, for Hyperliquid, I think so. Especially yesterday, I noticed there's like 2 tokens that didn't pump yesterday, and one of them was Hyperliquid. I'm concerned for it, dude. I think this is clear indication that maybe 1, people are tired of using leverage, and 2, if they choose to do leverage, maybe something like Aster or somewhere like Lighter might be a better place because they're farming the airdrop.
No, I mean Aster definitely had its chance to kill Hyperliquid, and it didn't. Whenever it was number 1 forever, we found out that the numbers were, I don't want to say manipulated, but they weren't real numbers. But at the same time, Hyperliquid just kept on trucking, and I think Lighter during that period kind of passed them for a brief second too, and then they went back to underneath Hyperliquid. So I don't think Hyperliquid is in a problem here, or like they need to be freaking out. And I don't think their founder is that type of founder either. We saw that whenever the Aster battle happened. And also you got to remember they also have a lot of stuff that's building out for their ecosystem as well. New teams that are building with them and stuff. What is that going to look like when that is fully running? Those type of situations. So I'm not worried about Hyperliquid. I'm also not a holder of Hyperliquid as well, though, right? So,
Yeah.
But looking at the price at $29, that doesn't concern me necessarily. I know, didn't they have unlocks or something recently too? So, I think there might be.
They did have a ton of unlock. I forgot.
Yeah,
about
so
that.
they had some unlocks, and so that's going to put some sell pressure on, right? But at the end of the day, I think they've managed everything up until today pretty damn well, right? And yeah, they're sitting at $29, but let's say the entire market goes on a Santa rally. Let's say we get the rally we all want, and Bitcoin's back over like 110 or something like that. Just hypothetically. I could see, Hyperliquid getting back to $40 and maybe trying to knock on a new all-time high and stuff like that. So I'm not worried about them in terms of price. I think long term they're going to be solid as long as they keep building out. I do think their ecosystem is going to be a big part of it, though, because the one point that you did bring up was, the competition. There's going to be more perp decks, and there's going to be a lot of branding that pushes those perp decks, right? Like, for example, Solana is trying to really solidify their position there. Every new chain is trying to solidify their position there, but it goes to kind of be in that first point too that you said, are people getting like, tired of losing, getting liquidated and stuff like that? That could pull back a little bit. So I do think that they have a plan with their ecosystem. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a little concerning to me. I totally forgot about Arthur Hayes when he's talked about the unlocking. So that definitely could be it. The team, for the first time ever, they're actually getting some tokens, right? They can set down some tokens and stuff like that. So but with Lighter, Aster, EdgeX, Apex, these are all kind of gaining some steam here, getting into the billions, some of them for the very first time, like Pacifica, in the last 30 days. So this could be something. But what happens after the airdrops happen, right? Does everyone just eventually go back to Hyperliquid, which is definitely a possibility. It depends at that point, you're going to pick the one that you like best.
Yeah, I mean, Hyperliquid has a great UI. The experience there is pretty solid. Once you bridge in, bridge in is instantaneous. Withdrawing does take, I want to say, maybe 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. So, when it is on the longer end, it is kind of annoying. But other than that, like everything else with the user experience is pretty great with Hyperliquid. So I think agree. You have to have a pretty amazing product to top that UX. And whenever you're at that level, I feel like it's kind of just like, just so close in terms of competition that doesn't really matter that much. And so our thought process is that our space is going to grow even more, meaning more capital and liquidity flow into here over the years. And I think they'll be okay in terms of, not worrying about saturation with perps dexes in the long term. But again, I do think that they need build out the other part of what they've been building on with their ecosystem, because that can just bring more revenue in for the team and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's 100%. But you have to remember, Aster has their chain coming in January and their staking coming in February. I personally like Aster's UI. I like the big button look. I like the simple. It seems a little bit more simple than Hyperliquid. When I first got on Hyperliquid, I was like, all right, what is going on here? Obviously, I figured it out. But with Aster, I figured it out a lot quicker. So I think Aster has really good easy use as well. But we'll see. We'll see. But shout out to Dr. How do you say this? Min?
Dr. Min? Yeah.
Min? Shout out to Dr. Min in the house. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here today. Courtney Johnson, 25, says, peace, guys. What's up with Luna? So the founder of Luna is being sentenced.
Is he tweeting from jail? Oh, okay.
He's not tweeting. He's just his sentencing is coming, and I think by people are like cheering him gone. I think I don't know. Honestly, I could be wrong. I don't know. What happens with dead coins like Terra Luna, but Blaze Bandit says Fox Business had Bitcoin at 123K this morning around 8 a.m. I don't know if their numbers were wrong or what. Something is happening behind the scenes. Ooh, was that an indication of something that happens tomorrow? We'll see.
XRP has had glitches too on there where it showed like $10,000 or 100,000 or something crazy. Everybody's like, I told you it was gonna happen. No, I think those are just glitches.
Does Ryan get tomorrow's news today?
Maybe. If so, then we need to bring him on for show prep.
100%. All right. Let's kind of get into the Bitcoin crypto price action and crypto bubbles. I'm kind of excited for this. I know it's going to be really hard because there is a macro event happening in a couple hours, but I would love to kind of see where you think we're headed up until that point.
Yeah, for sure. But before we get into the Bitcoin price action, we're going to ask you guys to help us out, and you guys do every single time. We're very thankful for that. But on the YouTube side, smash that like for us. Subscribe to the channel, guys. It helps us out there. And then turn your notifications on so you don't forget when we go live Monday through Friday, right? And then on the X side, let's share the space, get as many people in here as possible, and follow us on X at OnChain Rev. Make sure you're doing that. Shout out to the Abstract, Pump Streams, and Zora crew, along with Rumble. Don't forget about those crazies over there, as well as Twitch and Kick and Spotify. Let's take a look here at Bitcoin for the hour chart and see what is possibly going to happen leading up into that 2 o'clock Eastern time meeting. Right. So it does look like we, have started an uptrend, or at least, a short one. Right. Is this going to last? We're going to find out here in the next couple hours, right after that meeting, because we could have some volatility there. The volatility this morning is not super, super intense. I think most of that kind of got taken care of yesterday after the afternoon starting to kind of going into the night, right? That volatility kicked in and pulled us back. But as of right now, we're just kind of hanging around that 91 to 92 range. You can see right here on the MACD. And this, what I'm talking about here is just everything leading up to the FOMC, right? So just know that there's probably going to be some volatility during that time period. So I would definitely be as safe as possible with that in regards to leverage and in general, right? So you can see the MACD right here. Looks like, it wants to have, get into a good setup here on the hour chart. The sell pressure session looks like it wants to start closing. I don't know if it's going to close quick enough for us to see a jolt to the upside before that meeting, but the stochastics as well is kind of in this good setup. Now, I say good setup for a typical just regular day. For today, a good setup to me is still, okay, that looks like a good setup, but I ain't touching it, right? Until that meeting occurs, right? But if you want to, kind of take a stab at where Bitcoin could head to in the next couple hours, we could see some chop to the upside. Maybe we try to get back to 92 before the meeting, and then the volatility happens when the meeting starts, and all that fun stuff, right? So as of right now, it does look like it wants to pull up there on the hour chart, right? And we do have this uptrend that started really technically started back Sunday morning is whenever this kind of started, and it's not a super aggressive one, but we are actually in an uptrend here. It's short for the hour chart. Let's see how the rest of the day plays out, or the next couple hours, I should say, before the meeting. So looking pretty good setup wise, but be careful. And then the 4 hour is a little different story here. The setup looks like it wants to kind of close a bit out of this buy pressure session, so maybe be even more careful on that shorter time frame, right? You can see kind of this double top that formed here on the stochastic RSI too, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if it we get into that meeting, they have some volatility to pull us back down, and that could be why we're going up a little bit now, right? You see us, we were just at 91,000. Now we're at 92.3, right? So the mind games, guys, they're very strong heading into these type of events, right? So, hey, let's pull them up to 94, have the meeting happen, bring us down, have that volatility, like we're going to close out the 4 hour out of this buy pressure session, right? And you have some indicators here that could be what the, people that are pulling the strings are looking to have happen here, right? So, the double top on the stochastic RSI, bringing us down here and then closing out this. So that would probably look kind of messy, to kick the meeting off, but that could be what, happens. And then, that could reverse if the meeting's good and, later on today. So a lot of possibilities to, that could play out here. So, the setup is a little different, actually a lot different than what I just showed you on the 1 hour. On the 4 hour, it kind of looks like it's about done with the buy pressure. So, and the 4 hour gives you kind of a forecast that you can work with for 2 to 3 days out, right? So these time frames, these are 4 hour candles, and then the 1 hour time frame that I just showed you, that's more of an 8 to 16, 24 hour type of time frame. So just know that whenever I'm going over this, and then we go to the daily, which is going to give you more of a weekly kind of forecast, right? It can give you a week to 2 weeks, right? So as of right now, the daily looks pretty decent, right? We're keeping it alive here, not super aggressive, but we definitely want to stay up in the overbought territory. So this is pretty decent setup for the daily. So getting that information at 2 o'clock is going to be very important. So I like where we are in the daily. The 1 hour looks okay. The 4 hour looks like it wants to stop. And then we take a look here on Ethereum. The Ethereum 1 hour looks pretty good. I mean, you can see right here, like, looks like almost like a bull flag here that's taking place, and the sell pressure is not looking that strong at all, right? So I know it's technically in a sell pressure session here. We are kind of crinkled up here on the stochastic as well, but man, ETH looks really strong right here. Look, it's sitting at 33.50. I like where we are in the 1 hour. The 4 hour looks definitely stronger than Bitcoin's 4 hour, so doesn't look like it necessarily wants to close out here. So I really like ETH in terms of optics with the indicators from the TA side of things, and then the daily looks good as well. So Bitcoin, it looks a little bit worse on the 4 hour than ETH does, but ETH looks pretty strong here. We'll see if we can get some of that trickling down to the alts. But yeah, I like the setups for the most part, other than that 4 hour on Bitcoin. Taking a look here at the crypto bubbles, majority of it's pulled back, and it makes sense because people are just pulling back from yesterday's pull up, because yesterday was mostly grain. So we are seeing just that pullback today. And I wouldn't worry too much about this though. Let's see what happens during that meeting, and we could be very, very green tonight. For the most part, you're looking at about 5 to 9% pullback. You have your anomalies here, night, which is pulled up 60% here. XMR, Monero pulling up about 7%, Morpho pulling up 2%, and then the OKX token, the OKB token, is pulling up about 7% there, and meme core up about 6.5%. Everything else is pulled back as expected though, so no big concerns there. And then you look at the top 200. This freaking Pippin coin, guys, is absolutely nuts. It is sitting at $350 million market cap. Earlier, this, like 2 months ago, this was literally like, I think 5 million or something. But this was a coin that launched early in the year, and it jumped up. It's an AI meme narrative there. So yeah, we'll see how high that gets. I mean, that is one of the things I'll get into when we do the news from the trenches. But there's some activity that's happening with some of these meme coins I'm going to get into later. That's making me feel like some of the whales feel like we're going to have a pump in the next month and a half. range. So I think that's good news, and that's the part of the title of the show that's saying, you know, altcoins seem to be heating up here. But outside of Pippin in the top 200, you got this Bitcoin that was up, I think, yesterday as well, pretty drastically. It's up 47% here. And then everything else, kind of the similar situation as the top 100, right? So you're seeing about 5 to 9% pullback there. But that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the alt market for you guys.
It's interesting, you know, with Night obviously up 60%. That's the new Cardano token. I believe. I think it's a new Cardano chain, honestly. But yeah, that one's really interesting for sure. We got a comment here. Stan says, is there a list of migrations available from? Yeah, just go to migrate.fun. We're actually going to cover that later today, towards the end of the show for sure. So we'll cover that. And yeah, so we'll have Jake on Friday probably as well. But let's kind of get back to the what's going on here. Sorry, I just want to make sure I get the right thing here. Okay, so Polymarket website. Visits hit 19.9 million in November, beating DraftKings and FanDuel per similar site. So we aren't, you know, obviously with FanDuel and DraftKings, I think it's 1 of 5 people that visit the site actually use the bet, and I think it's 1 out of 100 people who use Polymarket. Actually, it might be way worse to think about it. Actually, use their site there. But what do you think about people going to Polymarket now? I mean, we're talking 20 million hits. It's pretty crazy in November.
I think the metric should be revenue. You know, that shows effectiveness. I think this is a headline to boost Polymarket and those type of predictions, because, you know, people are heavily using these platforms for data. You know, data to make decisions, data just to kind of see where they think something's going, you know what I mean? And I think that's going to increase in the future. You know what I mean? So it's almost kind of like you're going to like not Google, because Google's a search engine, but like something like that, a resource, you know, like a Wikipedia, Google, or whatever, to look up the data, right? And so when you're comparing to the traditional sports betting sites, I think we got to start looking at like total revenue, and then also total bet amounts, you know, total volume, really, because that's going to show, in fact, if you know, Polymarkets and these predictions markets are taking over the market completely altogether. Because as of right now, you're just checking website traffic. That I don't think that's as effective.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like you see Robinhood and Coinbase 1 and 2, right? Why do people go to Robinhood? To check their stock portfolio, to check their crypto portfolio. Why do people go to Coinbase? Kind of check in, make sure their ETH's still there, right? I think that's kind of why. And on top of that, you're checking the prices of it. You go there, let's say you have 3 ETH. You don't want to do the math. You say, okay, I have $9,800, right? Same thing with Polymarket. I think you go there to kind of just to make sure that nothing changed in the sense of the Fed meeting, in the sense of, you know, the Eagles line and stuff like that. And I definitely see people potentially making their bets on DraftKings because it's done in the traditional way. Like I'm even like a little scared to do a bet on Polymarket. I downloaded the app, I started looking at it, but like I just don't fully understand that like I can sell it early, and I need a little bit more practice with it. But if I was wanted to make a bet, I would just use DraftKings, right? In that way for now until I get more comfortable with Polymarket. But I think this is an indication though that Polymarket will see more betting happening as people like me get more comfortable with using like Polymarket. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that part. It's just kind of like the adoption curve, right?
Yeah.
And then the way that it seems like they're being handled is that they're being pushed into this, like, this needs to take over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of times that's kind of how the industry leaders happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, they happen because they're chosen. You know what I mean? Like,
For
sure,
sure.
they might have built something themselves in the very beginning and it turned into something, and then they get a certain investor type that comes in that has the power to be like, hey, okay, this is going to be the leading, especially in capitalistic markets, man. I mean, it's just, that's how it's worked, right? And we don't see that as consumers. We're just kind of like, and most of the time the product is like if not the best, it's one of the best. So you don't notice it as much, right? Like for example, Apple like phones, like those everybody likes those. People used to argue all the time about how Android phones are just technically better, but I felt like it was so easy to use Apple phones that like when I switched, I never went back.
No, 100%. Do you think one day that their revenue from being a data analytics company could be more than their revenue from actually betting? Because I do. I think their analytics actually could make them more money with ads than they're actually betting happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's an interesting point. And I don't even think they have to be as like secretive about it, because it is, it's out there too. Like obviously they can get more granular with the data and resell that or whatever. But from a legal perspective, I don't know what that they would have to do to be able to increase their revenue for users' data, but it's there and it's valuable.
Well, that's the thing too. You're giving that data because when you make that bet, right? So it's public. So it's not even like you need to get anything from the back end. Everything's there and it's public.
I think when you first use it, they have like a fine print, like little agreement, just like Robinhood and Facebook.
But I'm just saying, like, as someone outside looking in, and I just want to go to the site and see who's winning the potential, like after the debate and seeing the changes that happen, right? I'm using it like a poll thing. When I look and see if the Eagles are going to win, I'm just kind of seeing like a poll thing, right? So it's kind of like the data's already there. The data that I want is already available. I don't need to look in the back end, right? It's all
but I think you have to think about how they're going to make money, right? So how they're going to make money is by companies that will pay like a ton of money for data mining, basically.
See, I think you miss like I'm thinking of it more of like a Google with an ad. Like you go to a page and you see a State Farm ad up there. I think that could make them more money than anything else because they're getting 20 million hits.
I mean, sure. Yeah, that could happen as well. I think they would be very strategic in that though, because like the last thing that they want is to start plastering ads all over Polymarket. So, for them, they would take their time and, I think they're very confident right now. So they remind me of an early tech startup company like the Facebooks, like the Googles and stuff they were getting immense pressure, by the way, the Facebooks and Googles from investors saying, hey, start putting like ads like everywhere so you can start making money. And they're like, no, hold on a second. We don't want to do that.
That's
we don't want to
cool.
be,
yeah.
Or we just don't want to, it's all about the user's experience, right? And I think Polymarket falls into that same boat. So, they probably feel very confident right now.
Well, that's the thing. You go to Facebook now, you get 900 ads before you even sign in. Right, so you go to any site.
I don't.
Dude, Facebook is covered with ads, dude. I can't even use Facebook. Like we sign up there to kind of live stream there, and I started using it. It's just ad central, dude. And there's these pop-ups on the side, these paid promotion pop-ups, dude. If you accidentally click them, oh my god, it sends you to this crazy freaking shit. It's terrible. It's absolutely.
They were good about like subtly integrating them initially, but I don't know. I jump on there every once in a while, and I haven't
TikTok,
noticed them.
Dude, every 3 swipes is an ad.
TikTok for sure.
Every 3 swipes is an ad. So I do think Polymarket actually generates more revenue one day from these ads. Imagine going to Polymarket and say, hey, watch this 30-second ad of State Farm and get a free credit on a bet. I would do it. I'd watch a State Farm ad to get a credit on a bet, right? We'll see.
Yeah. I would do it too, actually.
All right, crypto exchange Gate US. Think about that for a second. Not Gate.io, it's Gate.us is taking a compliance-first approach, treating US regulators as part of the product design. This is something that I said that was going to happen. I thought MEXC was going to be first. I was wrong. It is actually Gate US. We do know there's a Binance US and there's a Kraken US and stuff like that. Now I think we're about to see Gate, we're about to see MEXC, we're about to see Bybit, we're about to see all these exchanges come online on the US. And what this is going to do, this is going to force companies like Coinbase and Kraken and Gemini to turn down their fees drastically, probably 90% from where they're at now, as long as they Gate.io actually does do what I think they're going to do and be one of the cheapest places to buy and sell crypto. They're going to bring you on with cheap fees and then say, hey, just so you know, we offer, all these other tokens you can't buy anywhere else.
I mean, I guess they could be the one to start it, right? To really kick that, because I think most of these centralized exchanges that operate here are anticipating it anyways, right? So who's going to kick it off? Who's going to, start the cheap fee type of race? At the end of the day, like there's always going to be some sort of fee because of the on-chain fees, right? And so you can't go completely free unless you're utilizing like a chain that is gasless or something like that. But
you're selling the data in the back end like Robinhood.
Yeah, but then you still have to cover the chain fees.
There's no chain fees on Gate. It's a centralized exchange.
No, but like for what Coinbase is trying to do and stuff like that, right?
Oh, you mean like the decentralized version of that?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the actual centralized exchange themselves fees dropping.
Yeah, I wonder
when you go buy ETH.
How would that affect Coinbase though? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So right now, if you try to buy $1,000 worth of Ethereum right now, you get $940 worth.
No,
right?
I'm talking about. I'm talking about with like Gate. Let's say Gate comes over and they say we're going to do no fees on anything. Okay. Okay. So then Coinbase could never do that.
They could. They would just need to come up with that revenue somewhere else.
Well, they would have to pay for the on-chain stuff that they offer through Base.
No, but I think you're misunderstanding. I'm talking about the centralized exchange itself, not the alpha section of that, not the.
But don't they? They're going to offer that on the centralized
base
exchange.
fees are like 0.1.
So that so they'll just cover
more about like slippage. I think you're kind of talking about, right? But on exchanges, there is no slippage. You can go from one token to another without really any slippage. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. So let's just say like I want to buy a full Ethereum, right? It's going to cost me $36,000 on Coinbase. It's going to cost me $32,000 on Gate. Why would I use Coinbase? Right? Mm-hmm. So 3,600 versus 32 because of the giant fee Coinbase offered, and Coinbase can get away with that fee right now because
the competition's not here.
Yeah, 100%.
And everybody that's doing it right now is doing something similar, like Kraken and Gemini.
Exactly. So Gemini is more expensive than Coinbase. Kraken is a little bit cheaper than Coinbase, but this is going to come in and potentially be drastically cheaper.
But would you want to piss Brian Armstrong off?
I just think that revenue model no longer works, and they got to figure out where they can compete, right? And you can be premium service. You can be that premium service because you offer it, and it's you're the safest exchange and stuff like that. 100%. You can be the most expensive, but you can't charge. If I want to go buy ETH right now, it's going to cost me 3,600 when we see on the chart that it's 32. You can't do that anymore. I don't think. I think you have to come down drastically. Maybe not to 90%.
I don't think there's a $400 gap.
Yo, try to buy an ETH right now. It's drastically.
Not $400 though.
It might be more. It's $100 to every 1,000.
What? I don't know about that. That sounds like horror. So 33.54 is what the price I'm seeing.
What if you wanted to buy it right now? No. That's before fees because it's 33.53 right now. So that's before fees. If you go press the button, they're going to charge you a whole nother amount.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen there.
Bybit actually released their top 20 of the world crypto adoption index. I thought this was really interesting. Here it is right now, and surprisingly, United States is number 2. I didn't think they would be number 2, but Singapore is number 1. I think that doesn't shock anybody. Singapore is basically the crypto capital of the world right now. We're seeing some of the best dApps coming out of there, right? Hyperliquid being one of them, Merlin kind of being another. United States, what is that?
Lithuania.
Yeah, Switzerland, UAE, Ireland, Canada, Netherlands, Vietnam, Hong Kong. Hong Kong being 10, that definitely surprises me. Nothing else here really surprises me. I guess Canada being 7th, but down here, seeing the UK and Poland and Germany, What do you think about this list here of the top reported crypto adoption index?
Yeah, it actually doesn't surprise me that Singapore is number one either.
Yeah.
Because they've been all about it for so long too. And crypto.com's there. There's multiple headquarters that are there. So I'm not shocked with that. Hong Kong, I'm actually not too shocked of either, because it is it's like its own district of China, right? So
Yeah.
they have I think you actually have to get like a separate passport for Hong Kong.
Do you
So
really? Oh wow.
yeah. And so they're Chinese citizens still, but they have like their own like special district, right? So they have a little bit more of a Western mindset, and thinking. And so I'm not too shocked with that. The ones that I guess I would be a little bit more shocked with is like Lithuania. I didn't expect that.
Number 3.
Ireland, that one is a shocker.
Mm.
Yeah. So those two kind of stick out to me in terms of and I guess the last shocker on that list is the fact that South Korea is so low.
I know. I thought South Korea was way higher than that, honestly.
Yeah. Because
this is Bybit, right? This is
they're pretty crazy about crypto over there, from my understanding. So yeah, I was a little shocked with that.
100%. Kindly MD actually got a loan from Kraken today, $210 million. I think Kraken is nuts giving them this money. I think this is going to be a bankrupt company probably in the next year or so. What do you think about this? Kraken actually coming in and kind of bailing Kindly out a little bit here.
I don't know too much about Kindly MD. Are they
They're a dental company.
Yeah, so they're a tradition. That's what I thought. So they're a traditional company. Yeah, so that's weird. That is definitely weird.
Well, they were a traditional company with a huge amount of capital sitting there. So when I guess when what's his name bought into it, what's his name? The Bitcoin magazine
David
guy?
Bailey.
David Bailey bought into them. They used that capital to buy Bitcoin, right? So they have a really good business model. I think buying Bitcoin was the worst thing that ever happened to them, honestly, and I do think that's probably going to be what bankrupts them. But they are able to get a $210 million loan from Kraken. Do you think any of this goes into buying potentially more Bitcoin, or do you think it just comes in to buy the stock?
I think it's a safety net. And I guess the Kindly MD is the stock, right? It's the stock. It's the Naka stock.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So they just named the ticker Naka. And I guess they acquired Kindly MD, or a good amount of it.
David Bailey
what threw me off.
I think. Yeah.
That's what threw me off. Okay, so I see where this connection is forming here. It's more of, hey, look, this will help out the industry too, maybe, and because they've had a lot of pressure on them. The stock went down a lot, and so I think they were below 1 MNAV.
They're still are far.
Okay, so maybe this is going to be more of, hey, let's get back above however we can and chill out with the Bitcoin buys, and let's get the books back in order, so there's not going to be disruption.
But it's still a loan at the end of the day, right? Let's just say they use that $210 million to buy back the stock, get the stock back over MNAV, and then what, right? Hope Bitcoin goes up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
Well, hopefully they wouldn't have to use all of it to get it back above, and hopefully like some of it could be like there just in case, type of situation. I don't know what the objective is with it, but I do know that Naka was taking a lot of heat. And David Bailey and them were taking a lot of heat about a month ago.
And they still have the underlying business, right? Apparently, they make about $100 million a year in revenue, right? How much of that is profit? I don't know. But they're over $100 million a year in profit. So, in revenue. Yeah. So we could actually see, this. I don't know how this helps, but I think it was a terrible idea from Kindly people. But Donald J. Trump USD1 isn't another project, he says. It's the most important thing we're working on. He's saying WillFi is the company that issues USD1. Think of them as Circle, and this is the most important part of the business. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that USD1 is the number one and should be the number one priority of WillFi?
It seems like it is the number one priority. I don't know if it should be.
Gotcha.
It's
Definitely
there's
is,
huge,
yeah.
yeah. So there's huge campaigns on Solana pushing USD1 and Binance as well, Smart Chain.
Yeah.
And I know that they're trying to get one started on Sui, and so I do know that it is, it is their biggest focus. I feel like it's, it's working pretty good, decently on Solana, but because like you got to think about it, right? So like if you're in a coin that's paired with USD1, you don't necessarily have to freak out too much if the market crashes a bit, because if Solana goes down along with your coin that's paired, you're kind of like, okay, crap. But with USD1 being a stable coin, I guess that's where it can help. And it's really just about the WillFi and Trump branding, honestly. How does USD1 tie in with the overall objective of the government and stuff like that? I don't know that part, but I have a feeling that they're trying to do that. They're trying to do something with this USD1 strategically, connecting WillFi with the plan to maybe make the debt kind of lessen and strengthen the dollar and bond.
Yeah, you got to remember he was debanked, right? So I think to him personally, it's the most important part, because now having your USD1 in your personal wallet, I think, is the most important thing to him, in the sense of wanting to get back at the banks, right? I think that's his thing right now, wanting to stick it to JP Morgan, but who knows? SpaceX transferred over 1,000 Bitcoin to Coinbase Prime. SpaceX plans to go public at a $1.5 trillion valuation in 2026, the largest IPO in history. So my question to you is this to sell the Bitcoin before the IPO to kind of get that off the books? There was a rumor that they could potentially sell this to Tesla for shares of SpaceX. Obviously, we know Elon owns both of those companies, so to them, it's just kind of moving it from one company to another. So this goes through, but instead of that, they actually went and sent it to Coinbase Prime. Coinbase Prime could be the custodian, but we do know that Tesla is the custodian for their own Bitcoin. It's not Coinbase Prime. What do you think this means for that Bitcoin? And should we be concerned that SpaceX could be taking this off their books to kind of get this IPO underway?
No, I don't think they're going to take it off their books. I think if anything, they'll just transfer it to the other entity under them. But who buys into a 1.5 trillion? Huh?
But
maybe they're going to custody it. Maybe they'll be a part. Maybe they'll be the custody partner of Tesla. I don't know why send it over there, but I don't think he would sell. I don't think he would sell Bitcoin after making some of the statements that he made about it about a month ago, saying, energy is the most valuable resource, and basically pointing to, he used the word Bitcoin. He said, that points to Bitcoin kind of situation in terms of value, long-term value. So I don't think he would sell it. And if he does a transfer of it, maybe he wants an entity that's going to do a guarantee or something that everything's going to be handled correctly and safely. I don't know. I'm just taking stabs at it, but I just don't think he would. I don't think they would sell it. I just don't.
Yeah, I think there's two options here, that he's either sending it to sell it, or he's sending it because maybe the IPO, they need a third-party custodian for this Bitcoin, right? Maybe in the IPO. Now Tesla's already kind of public, it's different, but when you're going through the process of IPOing, there might be something in the paperwork that says, hey, if you're going to hold this, you need a third-party custodian of this, at least with, because we can wake up tomorrow and, you can hear that SpaceX got hacked. Right. And I think that's the last thing investors kind of want, especially in a $1.5 trillion valuation.
I was going to say, who buys into that?
Well, think about what they can be, right? I heard Google yesterday come out and they said, hey, we want to put data centers in space. Who are they? Who's going to send those data centers to space for them? SpaceX. Right. So that's what I'm saying. They want to use the sun to power data centers. Google said this. And how are they going to do that? Well, the only person that can do it right now is SpaceX. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you pay a $1.5 trillion, because this could be $10 trillion in the matter of years. Right? Think about everyone putting data centers in space to get, because it's free.
I don't
'cause
like
it's
that
already
idea,
done.
man. Like, I feel like all of a sudden we're gonna have like news be like, oh, there's parts of satellites and then like parts of like data centers that are floating towards Earth.
It's so cool. I don't know, man. I love it. I think it's so cool. We're gonna have like a whole data, like, I don't know. Speaking of the cloud, it really is the cloud, right? At that point, because it's in space, it's above. I don't know. Move along though. So shout out to my guys at MineBridge or Rune Mine. They just enabled Lobo now live on Solana. I know why. Is because I think Zap, Leonidas's new product, is obviously using Solana pools to do their stuff on the app, where you can buy it with cash from your bank account. I think Lobo is about to get put on Zap. I think this is why. But MineBridge, again, being the chosen bridge for a rune like Lobo.
Yeah, congratulations to the Lobo community of getting that activated over there. I'm not sure how much volume it's going to help, but like, it does make sense with the Zap app really leveraging Solana. And so, like all these updates and stuff with runes, and I know we've given runes in the Bitcoin ecosystem, some heat this past year. But I think one thing we always have to remember is that like all these updates, all these, innovations, bridging over to new ecosystems all happened in a illiquid market. You know what I mean? So like we haven't had a chance to see what it looks like. And a lot of people will point to Solana and say, well, Solana had meme coins run to 100 million, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That, you have to understand, like Solana has really concentrated liquidity, I feel like, and it stays there for the most part. Every once in a while, you'll see a migration that comes out of it. So I'd like to see like what all these updates and bridges and stuff look like once we're in a, excess liquid market, right? Like where there's liquidity flowing and stuff. And so, this is kind of setting up for the future, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of runes, right? You recently had Mark Yuso come out. Let me just explain who Mark Yuso is. He has a firm right now, and they basically get into digital assets and stuff like that. But he's actually Anthony Pompliano's mentor. So we do know Anthony Pompliano. He's a big voice in the Bitcoin ecosystem. He's doing something on TradFi now with Bitcoin as well. Very similar to what Jack Mallers is doing. And Mark Yuso is actually his mentor, and actually I think is one of the people who got Pompliano so bullish on Bitcoin. And Mark Yuso is actually somebody who went on CNBC, and there's videos of this, at $9,000, $8,000 Bitcoin, and basically said it doesn't matter the price of Bitcoin today. It doesn't matter because we know where it's going to be. And he actually predicted Bitcoin would be 100,000 in 4 years, and he was correct. But he talks about something else now I kind of wanted to bring to everyone's attention. He's actually talking about runes and ordinals. So this is a guy who's super early to Bitcoin, speaking about runes and ordinals. I'll play it.
Like, I'm a believer in runes, and like, the guys will love me. I'll say dog. I like dog go to the moon. And like, how could you like that's just a meme coin? I'm like, yeah, but it's a meme coin on the right chain. And what do I mean by that? I'm a big proof of work guy. Proof of stake has it. To me, it's too close to the old system. He who has the gold makes the rules. I like proof of work, right? You have to do the work. And so I own a couple NFTs, and, dubious value. What is value? It's in the eye of the beholder. But they're worth something, thousands of dollars, whatever. I don't want them on a chain that points to an AWS server. That's not on chain. That's kind of on chain.
Totally.
I want it on chain. Like my PFP is on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now there are those who say, well, that's polluting the chain. I'm like, why? I mean, it's there. It's not causing any stress.
I was not expecting for you to come on here and talk about runes of all things. And those essentially, those are, for the people who don't know, those are inscriptions on Bitcoin itself, canonical. And there's a debate. Do you debase beautiful Bitcoin?
Absolutely a debate.
I think it's fine. Like I have a couple myself. I don't know if they're worth anything, but that was the last thing I was thinking that you're going to talk about.
And the thing about it is, the idea of it
Mm-hmm.
is so logical, right? If you think about it, if everything's going to be digital,
Yeah.
every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of fine art, every building, every private business, if ownership, not the physical thing, but if the ownership and the digital identity, like my driver's license, my marriage license, my passport, if all of that's going to be digital, I kind of like the idea that it's on a chain that can't be seized, can't be corrupted, can't be hacked, can't be turned off.
So it does seem like mainstream. I mean, I consider him mainstream. Guy who goes on CNBC, right? And I'm sure Anthony Pompliano is hearing this as well, because like I said, this is his mentor, right? I think they probably talk often. They were very, very close when he worked at Morgan Creek Capital, and he's the founder and CEO of Morgan Creek Capital, which is a capital investment company, right? And they were early to Ethereum as well, right? So this is a guy who's been early to pretty much everything his entire life, now coming out talking about runes and ordinals, and I'm like, damn, he might be right again. So what do you think?
You have to understand that like a meta can turn on like that, right? Yeah. And it, like we talk a lot about friction and tech stacks in the space, and you know, why didn't BRC20s like have longer success? And we forget that, you know, Ordi went to $1.5 billion market cap. Sats went to $1.3 billion market cap. Dog went to right under 1 billion. You know, there was success in terms of market cap numbers. Was it sustained? Not necessarily, but you have to also remember that we went into like a drought of liquidity, and yes, there was a pass. There was in fact a passing of liquidity and meta change in 2024 from Bitcoin's ecosystem to Solana. Point blank, black and white. There's no way around that. The liquidity followed once PumpFun launched and all these things. Now, I say this because for the people that are listening in that were here in 2023, they know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So if there's people that are in that stature of Yuzo and Yusko, and they believe that this narrative can catch, you know, truly catch, then I do too, because at the end of the day, the best technology, and Adam McBride from Emblem always says this, is number go up technology. And that's all that needs to happen. All that needs to happen is Dog needs to go to 1.5 billion, 2 billion. We're in a, you know, highly liquid market. And next thing you know, runes are back. They're amazing again. Ordinals are super hot. You know what I mean? So I think that could take place, right? And I think a lot of people are trying to set up. They're still laying their bets in that way, whether they're building bridges or, you know, we talked about Omnity, you know, having you know, a building this ecosystem that's supporting L1 assets, right? So there's multiple builders that are still you know, laying their bets in that, in a high liquid environment, and I think that could happen.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And you know, real quick though, what PFP do you think he has on his X account? I'll give you a hint.
Okay, give me a hint, but don't give me too.
You're
big
going to be surprised.
Is it Bitcoin?
Maybe you should. Maybe it started somewhere else and came to Bitcoin.
Okay. So that makes me think it's a DeGod.
No. Well, I'll give you one more.
Okay, it might have
started on ETH.
It started on ETH and it came to Bitcoin?
Yep.
It came to Bitcoin, but is it prominent on Bitcoin now?
We have a friend named Adam. He might have a PFP that's similar.
Oh, okay. He's a on-chain monkey.
On-chain monkey, yep. Does that surprise you?
Dang it. That was actually the best. You gave me a good hint for that one. I wasn't thinking of on-chain monkey wasn't on my mind.
It wasn't on mine either. Like when I was like, because when I watched the video, I was like, he has a Bored Ape. I guarantee you has a Bored Ape. And I was like, what? I was completely shocked that it wasn't a Bored Ape, that it was actually an on-chain monkey. I probably shouldn't have been, right? Because he is an ETH guy. He has ETH NFTs and stuff like that. But he likes the fact that the on-chain monkeys now are on Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then also let's not forget that, you know, the on-chain monkey team is very, very well connected. Very well connected. Remember they did what was it called? The Aspie or Asbury. They did
Oh,
a collab with Bugatti as well,
Mhm.
and their investors are very well connected. So that's probably how he's connected as well with ordinals and runes and stuff. So I mean, Danny, genius, the guy from the OnChain team
Yep.
as well, really smart guy.
100%, 100%. You did mention a new launchpad, and me and you last night, we got pretty knee deep in research, and we're kind of looking into Omnity and what they're bringing, and we discovered Satsman. Satsman right now is an etching. If we put a video on this morning, go watch that if you haven't watched it, but a complete walkthrough of how everything works. So I'm not going to do it here. But you basically create a rune, right? And then within the next coming weeks, we're going to see a launchpad here, very similar to PumpFun. How it's going to work is you're going to come here, you're going to take the rune that you etched, you're going to have that in your wallet. It's going to say 1 billion tokens, and you're going to send that to this launchpad. Once it receives that token, it'll now begin the process of the launch. It'll ask you how much of this do you personally want to buy, and it's going to create a liquidity pool. That liquidity pool, once it graduates, is going to be put on something called Rich Swap. Rich Swap is amazing. Again, go watch the video. I do 2 swaps back to back in seconds that are actually going to be put in the same Bitcoin block. They are doing exactly what Arch wanted to do, right? They are rolling up transactions and putting them in the same block. This is going to be, guys, we are sleeping right now. Rich Swap has been out for a while, and we've been completely sleeping on this product. I highly recommend L1 Launchpad, guys. We haven't seen it yet. How do you feel about an L1 Launchpad? Runes right now, kind of maybe getting some heat back, and what this could possibly bring, even maybe the East coming and playing on L1 again.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, right? But I think that it's going to be really competitive if that rune market does come back, right? Because people are going to try to get tickers and stuff like that. So I want to see when it's live, though. Next week, I think if they go live next week, what it seems to be the case, I want to see what that experience is like. Because at the end of the day, if it's a place to where you can do a lot of these things fast, but it's still working with L1, I think you kind of solve that problem that people have constantly thrown in the face of builders.
Yeah, and the argument is, hey, RadFi can do this, but RadFi you have to send to a centralized wallet. It's centralized at first, right? This is full just Bitcoin. You come here, you buy this token with Bitcoin, you wait 1 full block, and it's in your account. Like, this is layer 1 Bitcoin. This is exactly what we wanted years and years and years ago, and we finally have it now. And just kind of blown away that this, that's one thing I've noticed though about, these East builders. They're very quiet until they're ready to launch. And when we saw Satsman, it was kind of like the perfect layer for something like Rich Swap. And I'm really excited for this. I think it could really take off, and it could actually bring runes back.
Yeah. Well, also, if they can kind of have this roll up type of, technology, because they're leveraging ICP's tech stack, right? And we know what that looks like and the speed of it. And for the audience that doesn't understand, the ICP has their own node, Bitcoin node, right? So they're able to scan the chain, work with the chain very, very very well, right? So if they can do this roll up style approach, what else can they do besides a launch pad? What else can they do besides just a simple regular swap, right? So it seems like they have the know-how to do this, and maybe trying to get the dApps in that ecosystem is going to be the next step. So we'll see.
I see dApps coming from this like left and right. I can potentially see a borrow against your dog loan, right? Borrow against your Billy Cat, borrow against your, and they have a token too. Their token is the Hope You Get Rich token. And I realized I was not even showing my screen. But the Hope You Get Rich token is their utility token. So it has a token. You can trade it on Magic Eden. You can trade it here. It's the same price. And then they have the Satsman Launchpad. Very excited for this for sure. But let's get into our last thing here, which is news from the trenches. What we got for us?
All right, let's take a look here. So there's a couple things that I wanted to hit on, and I'm going to bring my screen up. So first of all, the trenches are an interesting place right now, right? And when I say that, from kind of what I've been saying about it is that it's really, really hard to win. So that hasn't really changed. But I will say the new pairs are the ones that people are really losing on a ton, which that's been kind of a theme for the past couple of months. But what I've noticed is that what happens is if there's a runner for that day, that gets to 500K, a million, right? It almost like 95% of the time will pull back about 80%, 70%, right? And depending on like if there's an existing community or the narrative is really strong, you'll start to see people, DCA once it's pulled back the entire way. So this happened with Franklin, the turtle.
Yeah.
Now that token's at like $16 million market cap. Now there's some crazy things that kind of go into the narrative. I think Pete Hegseth tweeted something about like Franklin the turtle, going against narco terrorists or something like that, and it'll pop up, right? But it's more about like, is there an established community? How good is that narrative? And you'll see some of these tokens get even down to like 50K for a day or two, and then people are like DCAing into them a little bit, and then you'll see them start to grow some strength, right? Right now, the USD1 campaign that I was talking about with Bonk, that team is really trying to push like a lot of these tokens out. But you're having stuff like the American Dream that did something like that, and that token got. And for the audience, you guys are used to our show. None of this is financial advice. This is just me telling you about the trenches. But that is a token that like retraced back to 80,000 and is sitting at like a comfortable 250 to 300,000. But it's like the American Dream, USD1. There's a community with it and all these things. Another example was the Clifford token. So you had the Franklin one, which is a child's book. And like you said, you used to watch that show with your kids or whatever, right? So Clifford, the big red dog, everybody remembers that. That was something that launched a couple days ago. USD1 is like has like a red MAGA hat on it, right? Well, Donald Trump Jr. posted about it, and bam, it went to $1 million this morning, right? So let me show you kind of some of the tools that I use to try to catch some of these, right? First of all, it's Axiom. If you go to axiom.trade. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that, so I'm not going to send you any links, so you don't have to worry about that. But what I do is, first thing I'll do is I'll go to the Pulse, which is very similar to what you guys are used to with the trenches. You have your new pairs, your final stretch, and your migrated. But one thing that I changed was I would go to the filters here, and I would hit on the filters, and I would go down to the metrics, and I would go down to global fees paid. The reason why I set a minimum here is because when you have the global fees paid at least set to 1 Solana, you know that the traffic is genuine traffic. It's not like buying and selling yourself with your own wallets, right? So you can at least see that there's some sort of kind of organic, at least a little bit, right? That doesn't protect you from getting rugged and liquidity completely selling out, right? But anyways, so you set that there, and then you can set your minimum of market cap. That could help some people, right? Because if you don't want too much of a risky approach, and then you just hit apply all, right? And so now that the tokens that are coming through, the new pairs all have that minimum global fee amount, right? And then I set it for final stretch as well and migrated, right? Because you can fake the traffic or the volume in any of these. So that's the first thing. And I've noticed for me, that's really reduced, I would say, the complete liquidity dumps by about like 20%. So by no means is this like a, shield completely from, scammers and stuff, but it does help, right? So that's the first thing. And then because new pairs have been so hard to trade, you might want to either stay away from them or just really take that profit early, right? So this is kind of like a strategy that a lot of people get into, right? So if you're hitting a 50, 70, 100% profit, probably get out, right? That might be something that someone tells you. But if you want to try to get into some of those other tokens, you can hit the Discover tab here. And some of these tokens have been, here for longer than a day. You can see this one right here, Bald Coin. It's been here for a day. The ones that are really new, you probably don't want to jump into those just because they are the new pair. But if you can catch one that's been in here, that's catching, getting hot, and you can see it's been here for like at least like 12 hours or a day or something, then it could really go on a run. You see this bad coin here at $385,000 market cap, right? The bald coin here, right? So someone probably caught that this morning at like 8 o'clock. It went from, you can see the market cap at like 109,000 to 302, right? So if you want to be safer, you can just stick on the Discover and, you know, see how long they've been since launch, and then see if you can catch one. And that's where I saw the Clifford token this morning. I saw it a little bit later at like 300, 400,000. It got to 1.1 million. But it had been launched for like, I think like 12 hours or something like that, right? So that helps a little bit. So hopefully that can help you guys. That is what I've been using lately. It's still very hard though. And one of the strategies that I've been using is I'm making a list of those narrative tokens that have been at least 24 hours launched, pulled back at 80%, and then said, okay, I'm going to dump $50 here. I'm going to dump $50 there. I'm going to dump $50 here. I'm going to dump $50 there, and just try to play the like a card, right? Like you're just trying to play squares almost, right? Obviously of ones that you've done your research on. These are strong narratives. There's a community at least and stuff like that. So that is something that I've seen with the trenches. Something that could go well today is the Trumpist coin, because South Park came out with a preview teaser episode with their X account, and they changed their PFP to a Trump Santa, and he's going to be in the episode tonight. And all of a sudden there was a Trumpist coin launched yesterday, and it dumped super hard. It is USD1, so that is something that kind of clicked in my brain. Okay, you know, Trump USD1. It went from $120,000 market cap all the way down to 27,000, and pretty much was that throughout the night, right? And then about, I would say about an hour ago, it went from 30,000 market cap to back to 130. So they're, they're obviously trying to hype this up a bit because the episode is tonight, you know. So who knows? There has yet to be a really strong, consistent Christmas runner. So maybe this is it. Maybe it's not. You know, you got to do your research on it, guys. But hopefully that helps you.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's really. It's hard. The trenches hard because I've been kind of looking at it, and like what I've been doing, and tell me if I'm doing this wrong. Obviously, I'm going to grab an Axiom account and kind of do that for sure, because I think that will definitely help. But I've been just kind of sitting here staring at craziness, right? I feel like I'm in a casino with all these craziness. Look at this one over here, just going absolutely crazy. Calvin, who the hell is Calvin? But it's like
Calvin and Hobbes.
Who?
Calvin and Hobbes. It's like an old newspaper, like cartoons thing.
Gotcha.
But I'll say that like that's probably running because right now there's this theme that started with Franklin that's like cartoons type of situation. You know, the Curious George ran a little bit earlier. You know, all these things. If you go straight to the pump.fun site, it's your risk is increasing because you can't filter out, you know, the global fees. You don't know what's legit or not, but you can catch the runners because that little sparkly thing lets you know, hey, these are running hard, right? But at the end of the day, almost nothing is going to sustain after the first day. You know, I told you that pre-show.
Yeah.
You're looking at first day. If best performance, you're looking at $1 to $2 million market cap with on average, probably at least a 50% to 70%, 80% pullback. Okay. So that's just how new pairs are being played. You know, there's nothing that's a new pair that shoots off day one and stays up only for like 3 days. It just doesn't happen. It's not a thing anymore. So you got to really play day one very different than you're going to play day 2, 3, 4, or 5 of that same token if you want to be in it. And that's the reality of it.
So you're telling me I can't get in Calvin long term?
I'm not saying you can't get in Calvin long term, but I can't. What I would say is it would be a bad strategy to try to buy it at like $50,000 market cap, ride it up to 1 million, and then ride it all the way back down to 100K.
Yeah,
because it's almost guaranteed to happen if that's like the most successful for day one right now, right? If you see a token like that, you hit you hit the lotto that day. If it gets to 1 million to 2 million, expect an 80% pullback. Now, that doesn't mean that token can't be 10 million 5 days later, because that's exactly what happened to Franklin or White Whale or some of these other ones. But there's always the day one play is completely different than, like I said, the follow-up, right? So,
well, are these investable then? 6, 7. The
so
White
those are the
Whale,
ones that
Franklin,
have
Kabuto.
those are the ones that have made it like past the day one and then pulled back, and at some point have made like those DCAs back in the, you know, the KOLs, the groups, the people, you know, DCAing into it type of situation, right? So you know, all of those are like that. Now I would say, you know, Kabuto was more like of an anomaly, because I felt like it did have like a sustained 3-day stretch or something like that, to where it got to like, what did it get to? I mean, like it got high, like
13 million.
Yeah, right. But look at it now. So, you know, it's also kind of like how hard it pumps the first day could maybe not even be good. You know what I mean? Because now you're looking at like, how are you going to sustain $15 million after day one? You know what I mean? You're not going to do that. Now, if the market completely flips on its head, we're in this extremely strong Santa rally and all these things, of course, it can make new all-time highs, new all-time highs, new all-time highs. Now, we're just not in that. We're waiting for that, and we just haven't gotten the go signal yet.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, man. Real quick with the trenches, why we're here. Have you looked lately into what's happening on nad.fun? Or it does seem like it is a little stagnant. We are seeing a little runner, but I mean, nothing here is really sustaining above 500K besides Chog. But we know Chog is like the you know, the hand-picked baby of the site here. But it's kind of like Mancock, Amo. None of these are really sustaining. Is this worry you about the monad trenches at all? And is it time to maybe chalk it up and move along?
No, I mean, it's not worrying me. I haven't been glancing over there as much, but like, you know, I think people have their conviction plays over there, right? Whether that's Chog, Moncock, Emo, whatever, right? Emonad. But again, it's like we're not in that environment, right? It's like you. So what I talked about in terms of community sustainability, and then like you know running up and pulling back 80%, you can use that same thought process here. It's just not going to happen as frequent because there's not liquidity over here, right? So it's almost kind of like, okay, I'm going to DCA $50 into Moncock because I believe in that. I'm going to DCA $50 in the Monad. I'm going to DCA $50 into Nads, whatever you want to do. And honestly, like even more so, way more so here and Spark than something in Solana, you do that and you just like set it and forget it. Like, you know what I mean? Because this has like very, very little liquidity in that ecosystem. Spark, same way. Solana has liquidity, but it's just still, they know the market conditions right now. And so what I've noticed though is people are putting in some of these tokens over there. They're just doing it kind of after day one, after day two, whatever. And they feel like, okay, there's going to be, when there's a resurgence of liquidity, that's what makes me actually feel like some of these big whales are planning for a liquid environment soon, is that you're seeing tokens like Pippin bounce back really strong. Whales are pouring into some of these OG tokens that had really high market caps. And so it's almost kind of like a precursor. They're like forecasting for us a bit. You know, they're saying, okay, memes will run pretty hard when liquidity's back, and liquidity is going to come back sooner than you guys think. That's what I'm getting from it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, could it be what Rasmer said, where everyone's, everyone's just so broke? The only real way for everyone to win right now is to bring up a meme coin, right? And then bring in retail to buy their bags on it. Could that be it? Could that be what they're doing with Pippin and stuff, like trying to get the trenches going again with a runner? Because we both know the trenches aren't going to get a fire lit underneath them until we see something do 100x, 1000x, right?
Yeah, and that would be perfect for like a Christmas runner. But you know, but I would say yes. Typically, you're right, but Pippin is having some sustained success right after it got brought back up. And don't get me wrong, it pulled back pretty significantly the first after it crossed over 200, but now it's sitting at 3 something, right? So you see, and by the way, 2.5 months ago, it's at like 5 million, by the way. So it's absolutely crazy the way how parabolic the bounce back has been for that. Now, I would say normally, yeah, because like it's kind of like a Zcash event, right? But the reason why I don't think that's necessarily the case is because they're doing it with new pairs too now, multiple new pairs, right? So now I'm starting to see like sustained market cap, with some like coins that were launched maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Not stuff that's necessarily like super old that they're pumping pretty significantly. So it's almost kind of like a preparation is what I'm seeing. I could be reading this completely wrong to the chat, so don't go off of me like saying I'm not an oracle, I can't tell the future, but all I can do is get beat up so bad that I have to learn. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're like it's like playing Fortnite. I felt that. It's like you're playing Fortnite in the beginning for the first time ever, and you suck, and your friends are good. But eventually, like you're gonna, okay, that's how I do it. Okay, that's how you build, up and stuff like that. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at some of the things that I'm picking up here.
It's funny you say that because like I'm playing Arc Raiders. I've been playing for like 3 weeks. My brother popped in last week. He was terrible, but he's always played Call of Duty and stuff, so he knows the game. And now he kind of caught on, and now he's better than me. You know what I mean? So it's like it's exactly what you're kind of saying. It's kind of just like it's that same thing. Is like you have to learn the ropes first. You have to learn how to play before you can compete with the people who've been here with the experience. 100%. I felt that for sure. So Monad. So would you be looking at Monad going for further right now? Would you be looking at maybe a new runner over here, or would you kind of just stay on PumpFun?
I'm like on Pump not Pump, but Solana, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm on Solana for the most part. I don't know why we're having that technical thing there because it looks like it's working. But anyways, and the reason why is because things are going to pump there first. But if we do get into that liquid environment, it will trickle down though, right? So it's almost kind of like, I feel like with Monad and Spark, those are the two ecosystems we kind of focused on last week and the week before. I feel like I can set my convictions now and be okay for whenever the market's liquid, right? But with Solana, there's a lot of like just kind of stuff that's like popping new. They're like, it seems like the bonk team's really trying to push this USD1 narrative. So when you see a good politically, aligned narrative in USD1, you almost kind of like start to salivate because you're kind of like, okay, damn, that's a good one. It's to do with the American dream. I think that's a great one. In my narrative wise, it's one of the best. And so those are new right now. And so you kind of set some of those because like I feel like the liquidity impact is going to hit Solana like first, and then it will trickle out, and then you'll have some huge runners in Monad and Spark and Runes and stuff like that. But we gotta be in that environment first, and it just seems like people are preparing in Solana right now more aggressively for that.
Gotcha. So I basically know what you're going to say about the next one then. So, but I'll still bring it up anyway. Something like Spark, right? Spark's brand spanking new, 3 weeks old at this point when it came to after the relaunch. Are you looking here for any gains? We saw ASTI kind of regain 400K, soon regain 800K. There's some new ones here that are running. I like Satosh. It's like one of my personal favorites. Biddy had a huge run of the 500K, pushed back down. Are you looking here? In these trenches of this ecosystem potentially, or maybe not right now?
I've kind of not. I'll glance over there just because I want to know. Well, I'm glancing over on Spark more than I am on Monad, and the reason why is because I feel like with Spark, the people behind it, like the overall people, like I feel like there could be like liquidity injections out of nowhere, and I want to not miss that, right? But I feel like I could take the same strategy though, right? And plant a little bit in ASTI. I can plant a little bit in Soon. I can plant a little bit in. I'm actually a bit more bearish on Biddy. I feel like that I'm like I'm not really bullish on Biddy as much anymore, but these type of tokens really soon. ASTI is really kind of what I'm kind of looking at over there, right? But again, I don't want to miss if there's like a liquidity injection and all of a sudden things start popping, because if that's the case, and you're going to have new runners too, like even in Monad and in Spark, if the liquidity is here, we're in a good market for trenching overall, then you're going to have some new runners for sure. Absolutely. But again, that takes time to get the signal that, hey, look, there's people have money again, people are bidding again. And you're going to see it first, I think, in Solana. Then it's going to, trickle down into other ecosystems.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. So kind of like just kind of wait for Solana to kind of give you that heads up, and then kind of move on from there. So, yeah, man. I guess we'll move on to our final thing here, which is it's migration day. Oh, yesterday was it? So definitely peek over here, guys. This is something I think we could see a runner from. One of these tokens, after the migration is complete, it looks like most migrations will be complete in the second or third week of December, 16th here, 24th here, 16th here. So I think paying attention to some of these runners, and I'd love your opinion on this, they could actually blow up, because we did see Hustle. When Hustle did their migration, absolutely went insane afterwards. Same thing with Pay AI. It went, parabolic. I think Zora did as well. Are you kind of looking at some of these migrations for Migrate.fun to kind of say, okay, maybe some of these could be trades or runs here after the migration?
Yeah, so I honestly haven't. I need to.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit different because, well, I think some of these are coming from Bonk, right? Or most of them? Or Believe.
So 9 is coming from Believe. And there's a mixture from, I think the rest of them are coming from Bonk. I don't know. We can ask Jake probably today.
Honestly, shame on me, because I feel like this should be a part of the strategy too. Because we've seen tokens have, a 50% to 75% increase in market cap prior to the migration, right? And I think they're migrating at the perfect timing, because, if people are prepping for a liquid environment, whether that's in January or maybe we get it last week of this month, whatever, right? Then these type of tokens that are migrating are going to be, probably good opportunity type situations.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I'm gonna buy one today. Maybe we'll do a tutorial video of me doing it and just kind of seeing what happens with that token. There's so many to pick from. I gotta do some research, but definitely check out Migrate.fun if you guys are interested, or if you do hold any of these tokens. If you don't know if you hold the tokens, you guys can just jump through here, and you should know by this point if your token you hold. But for instance, like this one is going from ACE, which is a data cloud, into ACE here on Pump. So migration ends in 13 days. So you guys can get all the information here. But check out migrate.fun. But that is our show today, guys. Another long one for you guys. I apologize if you don't like the long ones, but if you do like them, you're welcome. Nah, I'm just kidding. But 258 people here on YouTube and X, not to mention everyone on Twitch, Rumble, Abstract, Zora, Kick, and everywhere else that we stream. But really appreciate every single one of you guys, man, each and every day, and Spotify later.
Absolutely, guys. Without you guys, we could not do the show, and we are so thankful for you guys. Even in a hard year of 2025, you guys still show up, and we're very appreciative of that. But also, we couldn't do it without our partners, so if you could check them out, we would be greatly appreciative of that. Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer of the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you are looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or Bitcoin NFTs like Rare Pepes or Nakamoto cards, right? You got to use Emblem Vault. They've been doing it since 2021. They are the only provider, the best provider as well. And they've been building with Bitcoin since 2013. So they have all that experience there. But they are open to Ethereum right now. So you can actually take your Taproot wizard over to the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending application on ETH. They're going to open this up to other EVMs as well. And Solana is on that list of layers that they're going to be opening up to. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in all of Solana called AgentHustle.ai. But it's not only Solana. They are active there in HBAR, Hedera Hashgraph, right? As well as BSC and other EVMs are coming very, very soon. But you can ask Hustle, hey, find me some low cap gems in this ecosystem, and he will find them for you and give you reasons why he thinks that they are solid. You can also do conditional trading with Agent Hustle, as there is a conditional trading engine built inside Hustle. He can take care of those buy and sell limit orders while you're at the gym, grocery shopping, whatever you need to take care of. He will work on your behalf. So there is a free subscription level, but you get a minimum amount of prompts, but you can use it to test it out. That's what I would say. It's the best reason for it. And then if you like it, you can upgrade and have some tool sets and stuff that can give you an edge. And you can actually use the Hustle token in those paid subscription levels, and you can get a discount, 30% discount if you pay in the Hustle token. And the Hustle token is a single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem. But yeah, so check out Agent Hustle, see if you like it, and if you have any questions, reach out to us or the team there. But there's another product within the ecosystem called Migrate.Fun. We just hit on it, and the team is in their PumpFun migration cohort, I should say. But if you have launched the token in Solana, on PumpFun, Bonk, any launchpad, and you want to migrate your community to a new launchpad or manage your own LPs, you got to do it through Migrate.Fun. They're the best service provider for this. They walk you through the whole experience there. This is their third cohort, so they are just rocking and rolling. Head over to Migrate.Fun, ask them any questions that you have, and then head over to Emblem.Vision to learn about all the products I just broke down for you guys. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin's strength through the power of AI. They have their Wizard version 2.0 that guides you through their entire Merlin Chain ecosystem. But not just that, you can swap for tokens outside the ecosystem. So all you got to do is have some Merlin Chain Bitcoin in your wallet, and you can swap for Solana tokens or BSC tokens as well. But going back to Merlin Chain's ecosystem, it can guide you through it and swap for you using Merlin Swap, or it can stake on your behalf as well. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model with Merlin Chain, and you can participate in 3 ways. The first way is to stake Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin, and that's pretty awesome because everybody wants that product, right? The first staking vault ended September 30th. They got 17% APR for their stakers, which is an amazing APR for staking Bitcoin. And like I said, you get paid out in Bitcoin. So really, really awesome there. The second staking vault is live now, but it goes until January 8th. So you got a little bit of time to earn there, and they will open up a third one afterwards, but the details are yet to come for that. The second one, they're going to shoot for the same type of APR, minimum 8%, maximum 21%. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of that. And then 2 ways to stake the Merlin Chain token. The first way is the day-to-day flexible option. You earn 15% APR on this. You can claim your rewards every single day. You can roll them up in compound interest strategy or just sell them, keep them in your wallet, whatever you want to do. If you do want to withdraw your Merlin Chain tokens, there's a 7-day cooldown period, so just know that. And the last option is the bonded option, and it's a 6-month lockup period, and you earn 45% APR. But the cool thing is you can claim those rewards daily, just like the flexible, and do whatever you want with those tokens as well. They are locked up for 6 months, so just know that. And that is pretty much the staking program there at Merlin Chain. Head over to merlinchain.io to learn more and follow them on X for their latest updates. Thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always. And if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out OnChainEvolution.io. Some of the best articles. These are real quick reads. You can knock them out pretty much very quickly. 3 to 4 minute reads. Knock them one by one. We have a Monad one, Bitcoin down 30%, and so many more. This one will actually teach you about the Fed ends QT. This is really important for what's about to happen in the next hour. Definitely check that out if you haven't read it yet. If you guys need a VPN, I highly recommend Nord. I use it every single day. NordVPN right now, you guys get 77% off for using our link here. $2.99 a month, 3 a month extra as well. So you lock it in, set it for two years, you get 27 months for the same exact price. Check that out there. And the reasons why I think you should get a VPN, you can use stuff like Hyperliquid, use stuff like MEXC, anything that geo-blocks you is a reason why you VPN. Also, if you ever launch a coin and that coin blows up, they can pretty much find out where you live because they can just take your IP address, get pinpoint exactly where you live off that IP address, and then do whatever they want to do, right? But if you have a VPN, it's impossible. Make sure you guys have a VPN. You never know when you're going to launch that next meme coin, and you don't want to be showing United States. You want to be showing Italy like I do. Definitely check that out. And if you guys need a hardware wallet, we highly recommend here Ledger. Ledger is the most proven, the most successful. There's no reason to really get into anything else, right? Ledger Nano X is something that I've been using for a long time. You guys can get it right now for $74. Do not, I repeat, do not buy from Amazon. Do not buy from eBay, nothing like that. You want to make sure it's legit. Make sure it's from ledger.com, shop.ledger.com. Make sure you use our link, though, because that definitely helps the show. And you guys can get yourself a hardware wallet for Christmas. Or if you know someone in crypto and you don't know what to get them a Ledger. Can't go wrong with the Ledger. But that's our show, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys check out onchainrevolution.io. Remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. And until tomorrow,
Peace.
OnChain, 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 OnChain. OnChain revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go. Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain revolution.